Coming up on Newsnight, fears of incitement to political violence grows, with the NDC warning it may be forced to, quote, draw its dagger if provoked by the governing New Patriotic Party following widely condemned inflammatory pronouncement by a Greek minister and Brian Champon.
We will do everything to protect the democracy, but we shall not become the victims of peace. If anybody wants peace, let us all of us sit and negotiate peace. If you draw your dagger, we will draw our dagger.
Also, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, has been demanding that parties tone down on explosive political rhetoric immediately.
The politicians should tone down their language, be civil and polite each other. After all, we have only one country to live in and want to live in peace and develop and progress.
We have details, plus speak live to the Food and Agriculture Ministry, who says he has been misconstrued. Also coming up, Ghana fights off claims there has been an M-pox outbreak in the country this year, as Africa's CDD declares the fresh outbreak a public health emergency of international concern.
In Ghana, our last case was in April 2023, but so far as we've had some in the past, we're also going to activate our systems to detect cases and manage them.
We have details as the Ghana Health Service rolls out its response with activation of its surveillance system to detect any new cases.
And we also have business for you, Desire.
And Bank of Ghana forecast an improved financial position for this year due to the current development in the economy.
And in sports, Ghana Athletics President Barf Husseini blames the country's poor Olympic performance on a lack of investment, insisting the team couldn't have done more with the resources provided.
I want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, tonight, fears of incitement to political violence grows as the opposition NDC sends a strong warning it may be forced to, quote, draw its dagger if provoked by the governing New Patriotic Party following widely condemned inflammatory pronouncement by the Greek minister that the NPP will win power at all cost. Well, this follows massive condemnation of comments made by the Food and Agriculture Minister Brian Champon that the NPP will win the 2024 election at all costs. The former General Secretary of the NPP, Nana Ohinunto, has described the comments as outright condemnable, while the CPP and CDD have said these comments could stroke violence. However, this is not the first time Brian Champon has made such pronouncements and comments. Well, his previous comments that the NPP will not hand over power to the NDC drew similar reaction. Well, there's more in this following report.
The tough-speaking Brian Champon is in his third term as a parliamentarian and has a background in security, having served as a Minister of State in the Interior and National Security Ministries. He was accused by the NDC of masterminding the Ayawaso West by-election violence, a claim he has firmly refuted. Brian Champon stoked controversy in March this year when he said the NPP will not hand over power to the NDC. These comments drew sharp criticism from the NDC and some CSOs who interpreted the comments as a recipe for violence. Just 4 months down the line, the Minister for Agri at an NPP rally in Nsawam said the NPP will win the 2024 election at all costs.
The NPP is bound to win the election. We will use any means to win the election. If you don't understand, go and bend the sea. We will win the election at all costs so we can continue the good works of the NPP.
The NDC fired back almost immediately.
If he's a man, he should not hand over power and see. We will show him that when iron and iron meet, you will see fire.
CDD fellow Dr. John Osai Kwapon says Brian Champon must apologize for the comments.
You ought to find a way to manage your political temperament.
Should Brian Champon be apologizing for some of these statements?
Yes.
Meanwhile, former CPP General Secretary Nanaya Jantoa has also been incensed about the comments.
The man, when he gets on stage, he gets intoxicated with emotion and excitement. When it happens like that, he just talks anyhow without even thinking about the implications.
One thing is clear, the tempo will continue to rise significantly with just 4 months to the December election, and what many have termed incendiary language will become the stock of several politicians. Kweku Asante for Joy News.
And there's more condemnation tonight. Listen to the former NPP General Secretary Nanohin Into, who is now with the Alan Chamanten's Movement for Change and has been slamming the NPP MP for those comments.
The tendency is that people who feed from his hands will just follow it.
It's not only the people, everybody, the grassroots.
Yeah, you know,
okay.
It's something that should not be encouraged.
Okay.
It should be condemned, in fact. And characters like that should not be honored with public service and positions. Brian Achampong makes this kind of very, very inflammatory statement. I don't think an apology is enough because, you see, these things reflect a certain kind of mindset. These are people who are leading a whole political party. And incidentally, they happen to be incumbent in government with all of the state resources available to them. We saw what happened in one of the by-elections where some of the actors, including the same Brian Achampong, was reported to have acted in ways that compromised the safety or supposed to have compromised the safety of people.
Okay.
And now he's emboldened to say more of such things.
Well, Evans, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, they want political actors to tone down on inflammatory comments as they have the tendency to plunge the nation into chaos. Well, here's Reverend Dr Fred. He spoke to my colleague, Blessed Sugar.
These inflammatory speeches, the kind of thing that they are saying, if it actually happens, the country will be ungovernable for anybody. I think if we scan the environment and see what is going on elsewhere, whether it's youth or Gen Z and all of that, they've made their countries almost ungovernable. So let us tone down our language. Let us make sure what we have is a free, fair, credible election where the winner will know they won, where the loser will admit that they have lost and they'll go over and have another one. So these inflammatory ones, even if it's directed at our own constituency, it will not help us if they carry out some of the things that the threat is all about. This is not necessary. We don't need that. The politicians should tone down their language, be civil and polite to each other. After all, we have only one country to live in and want to live in peace and develop and progress.
In this particular case, would you urge the NDC and the NPP to withdraw their statements and perhaps apologize?
Yeah, the NDC and the NPP, they both know that there's a lot at stake. But you don't get what you want with inflammatory language. And pardon my language, I mean, if they say if somebody takes your cloth, well, and you run after it naked, then the two of you are probably in the same boat. So let's tone down, let's withdraw these inflammatory languages, let's be decent and show that we have class. As Ghanaians, we cherish our democracy, we can work together, and let those who want to say whatever they want to say it. Because after all, the majority will discern what is being said and do what they need to do. We don't need to inflame anybody with this type of language that is being bandied around. Apologize. We didn't say it well. We are sorry. Or we will work together for a peaceful Ghana.
Well, today we've been hearing from the National Youth Organizer of the NDC at the launch of the party's Youth Manifesto. He served notice the party will be forced to draw its dagger if the NPP provokes it, but they will use every lawful means to win the elections.
This election is our revolution without a gun. It's a revolution of mind and wit. It's a revolution where the gun will be the ballot, and we'll go out there and vote massively. And we will make sure that that ballot box is protected. And like we always say, the NDC is law-abiding. The NDC will do everything because we are the midwives of Ghana's democracy. We will do everything to protect the democracy. But we shall not become the victims of peace. If anybody wants peace, let us all of us sit and negotiate peace. If you draw your dagger, we will draw our dagger. We will do everything as legal and law-abiding citizens. We shall not foment trouble anywhere. But the elections of 2020, Techiman South will not repeat itself again. We shall take power. And I repeat, we shall take power, come what may, through every legal means on the 7th of December.
It's a live on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the Ghana has rejected claims it is one of 13 African Union member countries dealing with a fresh outbreak of M-pox disease in the region. The disease is a rare but very viral infection which can be fatal. The Africa CDC has declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern after record surge in cases this year, especially in Congo DRC.
Well, Evans, on its website, it lists Ghana as one of the 13 countries with confirmed M-pox cases. But this is being disputed by Ghana. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu, told head of our health desk, Fred Smith, that the last time Ghana confirmed a case was as far back as April 2023.
Africa Union, the United Member States, to discuss the emerging multiple situation in the continent. So, because, the surge in cases started in 2022, in 2023, and then it somehow subsided. But in 2024, they are getting a number of cases in Congo DR, a number of cases. So they called an emergency meeting so the member states would be on alert to look for cases and possibly address them. So at that meeting, it was for us to come out with our action plans about how to address the issue. And then I think 2 days ago, the AU has declared M-pox as a public health emergency of international concern, meaning that countries have to. When you declare a fix, like a lot of resources will come, and countries have to have high alert for that particular disease and consider it as emergency. So that is the situation. We Ghana, our last case was in April 2023, but so far as we've had some in the past, we're also going to activate our systems to detect cases and manage them.
And we'll be getting a bit more into this, understanding what is happening with this particular outbreak pretty shortly. Our head of the health desk will join us on this. So I want to hear from you, though. 05511119997. It's a WhatsApp line. I want you to get in touch with us on. In the meantime, though, we can bring you details from our latest series we're running, Flats of Trauma, a year on.
Well, imagine living in a house you can only access with the help of a ladder. That's the situation of 25-year-old Nanaya Wisdom Ishon, whose video went viral when he climbed a ladder to his home. Well, 1 year after we brought you the story, the situation has not changed. He still lives in that house that's dangerously hanging, but his situation only mirrors what some residents of New Botiano endure as a result of perennial floods. Hanging homes caused by torrential rains and bad roads are just some of the troubles they continue to face. My colleague Maxwell revisited the community a year later for our Floods of Trauma series.
It is March 2023. Flood water has forced the collapse of a building here at New Botiano. 2 children, 9 and 11 years, were swept away. They died. Their mother, Nanama, sits on the floor inconsolable. Not too far from Nanama's house is a house which is virtually hanging. The only way to access Nanaya's residence is with the help of a ladder which sits about 10 feet deep into the belly of the earth. The only thing missing here today is the ladder. A massive erosion caused by continuous flooding in the New Botiano community has left roads impassable and some structures on the verge of collapse.
Anytime it's rain, it's very
Nanaya Wisdom Ishen moved into the hanging house with his brother after the owner was forced by the situation to relocate with his family.
Anytime it's rain, it's very dangerous because you heard a sound of vibration. All the house were vibration and many things happen. Some erosion is very hard. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. The government to do something for us because you came here last year. And right now, it's getting worse than last year.
Another resident, Ales Nanabenyi, says the flood is not only destroying their structures, but also destroying properties, roads, and claiming lives. He wants authorities to deal with the problem.
When the rains come, don't go out to buy food.
The situation in New Botiano does not only pose a challenge to residents, but persons who use the Accra-Takoradi highway. The flood water and silt from the community and other parts of the Weja-Kaswa Ridge are dumped on portions of the highway, resulting in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
My name is Emmanuel Adoprekom, Secretary to the Union. In fact, the road very bad. It's erosion, and before it wasn't like that. Before, the whole place was bush. When it rains, during that time, the soil can absorb the water. But now they are building their houses. They have transferred everything, their water waste everything to the main road. So now it's the rain and the main, their waste, which is spoiling the road now.
And Maxwell filed that report. Details of that is across our social media platforms. I want to quickly return now to our story about the M-pox outbreak and the Africa CDC's warnings.
Yeah, we have Fred Smith, his head of our health desk, joining us with more on this. Fred, you've been going through the Africa CDC's website, and you've been getting figures. Tell us, what do they say about Africa? Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello, Fosti, I can hear you.
I want you to paint a picture for me. What does the report by Africa CDC say about Africa?
The Africa member states with cases for 2024, and it says since the beginning of the year and as at the end of July 2024, as many as 14,250 cases have been picked up in 10 member states. Now, 2,745 of which have been confirmed so far. Out of this number, firstly, 456 persons of those who got infected have died. And it then goes on to list the countries and the incidents which have culminated in the figures I've given you above. Now, the countries are Burundi, 8 cases, no deaths. Cameroon, 35 cases, 2 persons dead. Central African Republic, 213 cases, 0 deaths. Congo, 146, 1 death. DRC, which is the hotspot, 13,791 cases, 450 people dead. Then they come to Ghana. They indicate that 4 persons have been confirmed to have the disease, but no death has been recorded yet. And this represents a 160% increase in the number of cases since the outbreak in 2023, and 19% increase over the same period in the number of persons who have died. And this is what is explaining why the WHO is very worried about the situation. DRC, the hotspot, accounts for 96.3% of all cases and 97% of all deaths reported this year for state.
I'm quite interested in Ghana. You've been engaged in the Ghana Health Service. How are they reconciling this conflicting data? Because they say they haven't recorded any case this year, yet the data says they recorded 4 cases.
Well, I do understand that the Africa CDC says it picked up its information from its surveillance on the ground. Here's what I think, firstly. In June, we had a Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union who also controlled the National Public Health Reference Laboratory. That's where all such cases are tested. They were on strike, demanding improved conditions of service. So all of the laboratories where these could have been tested were shut down. Could it be that these 4 cases were picked up during this period? No one can tell now, firstly, but the 2 highly reputed institutions must reconcile these 2 numbers to address this once and for all.
In the meantime, though, what is Ghana's response to the outbreak?
Well, the Ghana Health Service says it has activated its surveillance systems and also asking people not to assume any rash they see on their skin is normal or even chickenpox. Now, they are also undertaking public education on M-pox so people don't keep these cases to themselves or even attempt to treat these at home.
Yeah, so I think what we did in the past is to create more awareness. You see, monkeypox, okay, the name is almost pronounced M-pox. It used to be monkeypox, it's M-pox. Yeah, so it looks like chickenpox. So it's to create awareness that when you have like rashes on your body, don't assume that it's chickenpox. You have to go to the health facility, samples to be taken, and then we'll confirm. And when it's severe, you may be admitted. But normally, most of the cases for M-pox is not severe. So they are managed on the OPD basis. So we are going to improve our activate our several systems. That's going to make sure that we have high awareness of Ghanaians not to assume rashes on their body to be chickenpox. And then we're going to improve also on our coordination systems from the Africa region to country level to ensure that we are dealing with the challenges. One of the things that they also do is that there are vaccines for M-pox, but the vaccines are not very finalized yet. So those are discussions going on if there are vaccines, which target groups should they be used for. So those are things that member states will discuss how to address.
You heard Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu.
And still to come, Bank of Ghana justifies its decision to enter into the Gold for Oil program without an agreement with the precious mineral marketing company.
The central bank has to take every decision that it has to take possible to ensure that we don't have disorderly collapse in the financial sector. And that's precisely what the central bank did.
More as the central bank caps allocations to Gold for Oil program in compliance with IMF directives.
The central bank's participation in terms of financial contribution to the Gold for Oil is capped, and nothing more is being added to that. So it is the receivables that are coming from within that cap amount that's being used to continue to finance the Gold for Oil program.
George Rafa is here with business. Hello, George.
I still have something from the Bank of Ghana, and they are saying that they are expecting their financial position for this year to improve significantly due to the current developments in the economy after it reduces loss from 60 billion Ghana cedis in 2022 to 10.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2023. And cedis depreciation against dollar continues to slow significantly as Bank of Ghana's market support picks up strongly. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Sintas Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. You welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, Bank of Ghana has indicated that it is looking forward to an improved financial position by the end of this year. It is coming after it first posted the loss of about 60 billion Ghana cedis in 2022. The amount was reduced significantly to hit 10.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2023. But responding to a question from the Chair of Parliament Public Accounts Committee, James Aveji, the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Afriyie, first sought to establish the loss posted in 2022 was not due to an internal inefficiency. Therefore, maintained that with all these conditions no longer present, they are looking forward to some interesting numbers by the end of this year.
From 2022, the biggest portion of the loss is not really coming from our operations. It's coming from as a result of the 50% haircut that the central bank took on behalf of stock of government debt. Now to your question, going into 2024, as we are now, the objective is to get inflation to 15% at the end of December, plus or minus 2. And as we are on track to getting there, gradually we realize that the cost of open market operations will be reducing because we are no longer in the high inflation environment. We are moving into a low and stable inflation environment. So the cost will be reducing. And if that accounts for 80% of your cost, I wouldn't want to project, but what I can say is that gradually the cost of price stability is gradually going down, and the central bank should begin to see that that cost does not account for a bigger proportion of its, the outturn of its financial statements going forward.
Dr. Maxwell Opoku is the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. The cedi's rate of depreciation against the dollar continues to slow significantly. Now, this is based on fresh data secured from some of the commercial banks. There is more in this report.
The data shows that over the past week, the Ghana cedi has been relatively stable against the US dollar. Some of the commercial banks have linked this to improved supply of dollars on the market by the Bank of Ghana. Others also think that the current performance of the dollar on the international market has contributed to the cedi's recovery on the local market. The Bank of Ghana has reportedly advanced $10 million to the market last week to meet corporate sector demand. The The Central Bank of Ghana is also working to auction about $20 million to bulk importers of petroleum products. Some market analysts believe that all these developments may go a long way to help sustain the cedi's stability. A sustained strong performance of the cedi could play a crucial role in the economy's recovery.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the National Petroleum Authority has denied licensing bulk LPG distributors to directly sell product to consumers on the market under the cylinder recirculation model. Now, this is one of the reasons that has led to the LPG marketers having definitely stopped loading gas from two industry giants, that is Blue Ocean and State Petroleum. But communications manager at the National Petroleum Authority, Mohammed Kudu, says that that is not the situation on the ground.
As though they are selling directly to the market. And this is what the policy allows. The policy does not allow the bulk producer, if you want, to do the retailing. You can't do that. If you are going to retail, then you have to be doing through an existing OMC that you have a relationship with, or ordinarily for anybody who would want to come into the space, the person should be coming through an existing LPGMC. That is the structure. So what we have actually agreed and have established as part of the policy going forward is that, look, it is okay for the existing LPGMCs to sell their product in the method that they are currently doing, side by side with CRM. But if they indeed want to go side by side with CRM and also participate in the CRM, as it were, picking the cylinders from the bottling plants and selling them to the consumers, you cannot have those bottles from the bottling plant branded in their colors, as it were, kept at the very existing filling station that they are operating. We are saying
Communications Manager at the National Petroleum Authority, Mohammed Abdul Kudus. Let's still stay on the sector because the LPG Marketers Association have given the firm assurance that their decision to boycott these two industry giants, that is Blue Ocean and State Petroleum, will not result in product shortage on the market. Gabriel Kumi is Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association.
We have over 7 BDCs that have depots in Tema that are supplying LPG to us for onward supply onto the market. Central refinery is also producing a lot of LPG. So we want to assure our consumers and the general public that this action is definitely not going to have any negative effect on supply of LPG onto the market.
Gabriel Kumi is Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. Now, former Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kweku Ajimandia, is dead. Joy Business understands that he died over the weekend. Now, former colleagues of that is Ajimandia has confirmed his death to Joy Business. Mr. Ajimandia, in March this year, handed over the current position to the current Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, that is Dr. Reverend Mr. Dia has several experience in the industry over the years. On the General Transport and Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union of the Trade Union Congress have expressed concerns about government decision to press ahead with the unitization of ANI Sankofa Field and Springfield Afena Field as well. This is coming after the International Court ruling last month seeking to stop government from going ahead to merge these two fields. Now speaking to Joy Business, Deputy General Secretary of the General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union, Francis Sella, insisted that the institution they are worried about this move by government.
There must be due diligence in terms of data, the resources on each of the field, so that when that process is done, we all know the outcome will be revenue sharing. And so you can't just order unitization when you don't have adequate data from the other field. It is not possible. And if this is going to have an effect, the current development is going to have an effect on the workers who are Ghanaians, who are tax-paying Ghanaians, who pay huge taxes to government of Ghana every month. We cannot sit down and allow this process to thwart and destroy their jobs.
Deputy General Secretary of the General Transport and Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union, Francis Sella, to the stock market. If you're a shareholder in Guinness Cannabis Limited, what the value of each share that you're holding was up by 46 pesos to close at 5 Ghana cedis, 16 pesos. And that's all for business on
Newsnight.
George, thank you very much. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. Maxwell says we are going to spend the country's entire revenue on free education, free senior high school by MPP, and now NDC must also provide something for free. Are we? Question mark. Reason why I say multi-party democracy is not good for Africa. Nana on the Spintex Road says were we all not in this country when the current president told BBC that he will find money for the free SHS education, so we should hope the NDC does same. Ruben says NDC should be careful about these free things. They should rather use whatever fund they will be finding, using it for the free education to create jobs for the people after their tertiary education, since many have completed without jobs, because this is not going to help our cash or core economy. And Shem says all desperate political promises made by the MPP, Alan, and NDC depicts mediocre, myopic, and misguided policies, the same old textbook stories during every election year. Vote outside MPP, Alan, NDC, or remain part of the Ghanaian problem of wayward voting without any positive radical changes. God's own Ghana deserves better, he says. And this one from Kingsford says, Mahama is gradually losing credibility. Mr. Mahama has been on record that if he has 2 billion, he wouldn't spend it on free SHS, and he even went ahead and said he would cancel trainees' allowances because they have been upgraded to university level and therefore they do need allowance. And Jesse says we were in this country when the free SHS policy was announced from 2008. The implementation, as we see now, wasn't what was communicated prior. There have been challenges even till now, so Miracles Abuaji shouldn't come and talk to us as if there hasn't been any challenges with it. At least he should admit that there are challenges. Please tell him Miracle is about to happen to the Ghanaian youth who aspire to attain tertiary education. A few of your thoughts there on our WhatsApp console. Let's go to Parliament now, where the Public Accounts Committee has been sitting.
Yes, Evans, they justify their decision to enter into the Gold for Oil program, and that's the Bank of Ghana. Well, we know that the BOG in 2022 entered into an agreement with Precious Minerals Marketing Company to use part of BOG's resources from the domestic gold purchase program to provide foreign currency for the importation of petroleum products. Now, we know that the move, according to the BOG, is to ensure availability of fuel, reduce prices at the pumps, and ease pressure on the city. But Evans, 2 years on, the Auditor General flagged that contract in its 2023 report, citing no available formal agreement between the Bank of Ghana and Precious Minerals Marketing Company. First, let's listen to the First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku, explain why the BOG failed to establish agreement from the commencement of the project.
In the time of the crisis, because that's why I'm explaining, because there's a distinction between the gold for reserves and gold for oil. Then the time when we needed to manage the oil import, we had the gold for oil that came in. That came in at a crucial time when the crude oil prices were going up, when the BDCs were having a forward rate that was impacting on the export prices. So we used the gold purchasing program to be able to purchase more gold for oil, and had an MOU with PMMC to be able to do that. Now, as that happened in the time of the crisis, then we started the process of having formal agreements, which we started discussing with PMMC and all the others involved. That is what the auditors picked up, to say that the MOU was not sufficient and it has to be moved to a formal gold purchase program, because this is a deviation from the gold purchase program for reserves. So once we have a gold for oil as a separate operation, we should have a formal agreement for which we put in place the process, and that agreement has been signed. But Mr. Chairman, I want to also emphasize that the central bank has been mandated to ensure price stability and financial stability. And the central bank has to take every decision that it has to take possible to ensure that we don't have disorderly collapse in the financial sector. And that's precisely what the central bank did.
Well, James Aveji was at the Public Accounts Committee sitting. He joins me in the studio with more. James, did the committee accept this explanation?
No. committee did not. The chairman, James Kluchi-Aveji, especially believes that this actually flouts the Public Financial Management Act.
The BOG reveals that it is capping allocations to the program. We'll come to you for a response on that, but let's listen to this.
What the auditors picked up was that they thought that the gold for oil also involved other entities, which is different from. So instead of the MOU, which they thought legally was not binding, it was not on that part of the race. They wanted us to upgrade it to a full gold purchase agreement, which PMMC was doing already under the gold for reserves. They were buying it within the same framework. So they were buying it, and the part they were buying within the same framework would then be used for the gold for oil in times of crisis. So the risk framework that they were operating in were the same, either under the gold for oil, for reserves, or gold for oil. That hasn't changed. So it has been consistent to the PFM Act. We have upgraded the MOU to a full agreement to be able to ensure that that specific special project for gold for oil has a separate agreement with PMMC. But in terms of its operations, they were operating under the same framework.
So the auditors were right by asking you to make it a full agreement.
Oh yes,
which we also accepted.
We agreed, and we have done that.
So my question was that at the time you were doing the gold for oil, didn't you know that you should have a full agreement with the PPMC or IPMC? What is the name?
PMMC.
Yeah. PMMC.
What I'm saying, that I think the act you read is talking about mitigating risk.
Yeah, of course. Of course, definitely there will be risk associated with the gold for oil program.
Well, James, we know that the BOG is revealing that it is capping allocations to the program. Tell us why.
Yes, firstly, so according to the BOG, the International Monetary Fund, IMF contract that we have signed has compelled them to cut that so that the BOG, the central bank, is not too much exposed to the risks associated with this program.
Thank you, James Aveji. Evans.
Let's stay with the Public Accounts Committee a while longer, because the National Lottery Authority, they were also before the committee, and they're blaming its inability to clamp down on illegal lottery operations across the country on interference from powerful political figures. The NLA has seen consistent decline in revenue generation from over 400 million cedis in 2017 to 200 million cedis in 2021. Responding to findings of the Auditor General before the Public Accounts Committee today, Director General of the NLA, Samiwuku, reveals that the authority loses, guess what, 1 billion cedis to lottery operations to the black market.
We've taken, and currently we are engaged in a tussle with the GLOA, Ghana Lotto Operators Association. The measures we've taken is, first of all, to stamp our authority, our given mandate by Parliament and the law that if you are not licensed to operate lottery, we won't allow you to operate. And so we've been embarking on swoops, but the board took a firm decision last week that the NLA must now go out there to ensure that regardless of whoever you are, if you are not licensed to operate the lottery, we won't allow you to operate. We have an estimated 780 illegal operating lotto companies in Ghana. Illegal. And Ghana's lottery field is estimated by the World Lottery Association to raise 1.8 billion cedis a year. Out of this, about $1 billion is in the hands of the illegals. They don't pay taxes. We don't owe them. You go after them and it becomes a political matter. But now we have decided that in helping us get to that revenue mobilization point, if you are not licensed to operate lottery, we won't allow you to operate.
I want to quickly bring in the head of corporate affairs at the NLA, Mame Kesua Dolphine, joins us right now. And the issue has become a political matter. It's one that, from what we understand before the committee today, is making it hard for you to do your jobs. How are you circumventing that, especially when we know that the NLA itself is headed by a political appointee?
Exactly, Evans. And so one of the issues the Director General has faced, especially in an election year, is when you threaten them that we are going to close down your shops, we are closing down your business, they say we have the numbers, we are going to punish you, we are not going to vote for you. So these have been some of the threats that have come their way. But the Director General says he's not budging. And with the new board chairman on board also, Mr. Gary Mafu Esquire, they issued a strong communique signed by the board chairman himself last week that at its 45th meeting on Tuesday, they resolved to inform the public, pursuant to Section 10 of the National Lotto Act, that the following companies, they listed a couple of companies, KGL Technology Limited, Blue Star High Tech, Luma Facilities, Zeta Technologies, Fortune Synergy, Afriyie Lotto, Game Park, and Wolaki. If you don't find your name here, it means they are coming after you. And they are doing this in conjunction with the joint military and police force, and they are closing down your shops, they are taking your books until you come to the authority to be regularized. So this time, they are not taking any calls from the political parties or the influential people, sometimes traditional rulers who these illegal lotto operators run to. They are just going to go and do their job. And also, they are meeting with the Ministry of Finance and the GRA on Thursday to map out a route or roadmap as to how they can bring these illegal lottery operators into the tax bracket, because that their business is hurting the authorities' revenue.
Thank you very much, Mameke Swadolfine. She is the head of corporate affairs at the NLA. We can do some sports now. And Ms. Bao is here with the very latest. Lotto is very lucrative. You're losing 1 billion cedis just to the black market.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Lot of money. Well, Olympics is over, and Ghana's performance of this year's Olympics wasn't particularly the best. We came home with no medals. That's a decline from what we had at Tokyo, where we came home with at least a bronze medal in boxing. The Ghana Athletics president, Bar Husseini, he has pointed to inadequate investment as a key reason for the country's disappointing performance at the Games. He emphasized that the team made the best of the limited resources available to them, suggesting that without proper funding and support, achieving better results was not feasible.
The athletes have got so much potential to win this medal. And they're also fighting. They have the zeal and they have the encouragement and they have the potential to give us medal. And on their own, they can only do what they have done on their own. But an athlete fighting for his own will not be enough for him to get to where we want them to be. We actually have to do more than what we have done for them.
Husseini speaking to my colleague Nathan Alato there. Evans, Kenya, Algeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, Tunisia, Botswana, Uganda, Morocco, Cabo Verde, Zambia, and Cote d'Ivoire. These were the African countries that got a medal at the Olympics, with Kenya racking up some 11 of them. Botswana today was declared half day because of the team's performance. They won 200 meters gold, they won silver in 4x400, and the gentleman that won the 200 meters gold and the 4x400 quartet, they're going to be getting houses, 3-bedroom houses.
Good one.
And journalist based in Botswana, Solomon Kakua, shared a bit of that with us.
Litile is entitled to a house from the government of Botswana. That is a 4-bedroom house that he is getting as soon as he gets to the airport. His house should be ready and should be handed over the keys. That's number one. Number two, there is money from a franchise. It's a retail in Botswana. They've put at 1 million that is available for Litile.
Yeah, so lots of houses, lots of money for Botswana athletes. We'll see how Ghana will fare in subsequent event. That's it for sports event.
Thank you very, very much.
Now let's do some other stories. Fisherfolk at Jamestown in Accra are calling on government to construct another concrete dock bumper at the fishing harbour to protect their canoes from the storm. The fisherfolk are deeply concerned about the increase in threat posed by storms, which have the potential to damage their canoes, the lifeblood of their trade. In an interview with Joy News following the inspection of the newly constructed Jamestown Fishing Harbour by the Transport Minister, the spokesperson of the Jamestown Fisherfolk argued that the current dock bumper is insufficient to protect their growing number of canoes from the powerful waves and strong winds that frequently batter their coastline.
The challenge that we face over here, that whenever there is a storm, the speediness of the storm turn the canoe. Once you have anchored your canoe, maybe you are asleep in the afternoon, in the night, you have gone to fishing, whereby you are tired, you have anchored your canoe in the harbour. Once you are in the harbour, means that your canoe is in safety. But due to the fastness of the storm, turn our canoes to eat the wharf, and then some of part of the harbour, and some of the canoes do got spoiled. So we are pleading to the authorities and then the engineers for them to go to Osekai, where there is a rock there, they should lay another breakwater over there so that whenever there is a storm, our canoes will be safety in the harbor. We plead to them once again to make sure that breakwater should be also built over there.
Okay.
That is the major challenge that we. And also.
So hold on, we'll come back to you.
Well, the Transport Minister, Kweku Ofori-Isiama, has expressed satisfaction with the work done on the Jamestown Fishing Harbour after embarking on his final inspection of the $50 million project. Well, that's it for Newsnight. My name is Faustina Saf. I've done this with Evans Mensa.